Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Sunday, October 6th at 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. Now, this is being a Sunday, of course. I went to church. I went to the 8 o'clock service this morning. Uh, Stopped off at the Walmart and got some food for the food bank before I went up there and, was able to deliver it. Uh, Now, our rector, well, last week he gave a sermon talking about the four major questions that run throughout the Bible. He said, these, if you take the Bible as a whole, these are the four questions you're left with. And he then went back to that theme today. Now, this guy is not generally a thematic preacher. He'll preach on something that has to do with the particular day's scripture lessons, readings, and then move on. But he says that he's become sort of engaged with these four questions, and so that's just what he's talking to us about. And the four questions are this. Excuse me. Where are you? God asks, where are you to Adam and Eve in the garden? Why are you here? Which he asks to Elijah when he's fled to the Mount Oreb, hiding out from Jezebel. Who do people say I am? Which is what Jesus asked his disciples just prior to going up to Mount Tabor to have the transfiguration. And then, what are you going to do? Well, now there's no specific instance of what are you going to do in the latter part of the New Testament after Jesus' question to his disciples. But certainly the answer or the location of that question can be found in the the bulk of the Pauline corpus. Now, some people say St. Paul didn't write all those letters, but I don't find that a useful approach to take. And in any case, I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? It matters if I have to sit and listen to somebody go on about it. But I move off the path. So what are you going to do? And the whole, well, not the whole, but a major part of the Pauline letters have to do with encouraging people to try to transform themselves both interiorly and exteriorly in their minds, in their hearts, in their spirits, and their souls, into the likeness of Christ. And so that's what we are supposed to do. But is that what we are going to do? And of course, that's always the contingent question, isn't it? The contingencies of history. Who knows who will win? So I may have broached on Romans 12:2 before, which I'll read one more time. Be not conformed to this world. That's a hard one, isn't it? Be not conformed to this world, But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Meaning, renew your mind, meaning not only your mind but your spirit, that you may prove, i.e., test and also then show, what is good and acceptable and perfect, meaning complete. You know, you know, try to be as completely conformed to the will of God. Now, just a note on translation here. The Greek word transformed in this case is indeed metamorphosis, like an insect coming out of its pupa and becoming an insect, its pupal stage. Complete change. And then the renewing, the word that's translated renewing in English is the same root word for resurrection, Anastasia, and a whole new life. So that kind of puts that verse in perspective. Now, so obviously we're never, despite our best efforts, we can't do this. Now, with the help of the grace of God, we can, of course, obviously, but we'll never quite approach that, obviously. But this is what we are to do. We are to try to do that. So that's my answer to Charles's, our rector's question. What are we to do? And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people read Paul's letters dwelling on the negative injunctions. Don't let women talk in church. Cover your hair. Be quiet. It's always it's always this. Oh, I don't like Paul. He didn't like women. Well, yes, he did like women in the sense because they helped him in his ministry. I mean, it was just all sorts of women helped him in his ministry. I mean, don't give me this stuff. He didn't like women. Give me a break. Well, anyway, so this is a doing positive approach rather than doing a negative approach. Although he did be very explicit about some of the negative pagan practices. The various fornicative practices in the various Greek temples to the various Greek pagan. Well, I'll have to say gods, but be sure, be absolutely certain I'm using it as a small g, not God. And then he also talked about, the 600 some injunctions of the Levitical law, which, very, very few observant Jews, and were able to observe completely. Now, there were a number of them that observed a great number of them, obviously. But the idea was that the law was to confer, if you observed all the rules, you'd be righteous in the eyes of God. Well, the real intent of all of the law was to live an ethical life toward other human beings. Now, there were some sort of, what to our minds are somewhat oddball things in terms of eating or not eating things and that sort of thing. But or how to wash your dishes and so forth. But in terms of the economic ethics, the interpersonal ethics in terms of how you treat each other ethics, uh, uh, if people could live by that ethic nowadays, uh, it would be wonderful. I mean, it would be wonderful. You would indeed be righteous to one another in any case. Now, I can't speak for how you stand in the eyes of God. That's not my place because I'm a human being. And so the answer to the question, what to do, is to live and transform your whole being into the image of Christ. Well, as closely as you can. Now that's an impossible task, but that's what we are to do. That's what we are to do. And there's any number of places in the Pauline corpus that give you specific examples of that, which I won't go into here because there's. I mean, I was looking through it this afternoon. I mean, we're talking well over 200 plus specific examples. So I'm not going to revisit that, but I think I've made my point on that one. So on that one, I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTubers. All righty. Have a good Sunday. Have a good rest of your Sunday.